Hey everyone, it's Desiree. I hope everyone is doing well and welcome. Today we are going to do a simplicity video. For those of you that have been around here for a while, you know what simplicity means to me. We let our pattern paper do the work for us because it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and let's face it, we hoard. At least I do. I'm just saying we hoard our pattern paper. The Simplicity series, and for those of you that are new, the Simplicity series is about the pattern paper. It's about adding some solid cardstock to stretch it out just a little bit, but we create our cards just using pattern paper. I don't add any sentiments. I don't add any embellishments or ephemera to it. I save that for when I need a card. So this is about building your stash for cards for when you need them on that sudden moment, because we either forget, we get invited at the last minute, or our significant other doesn't choose to tell us that the event has come up and we need a card. Just saying. Mine's usually the latter. Just saying. But we can take our pattern papers and make beautiful cards. We don't need to stamp an image, color an image, fussy cut an image, or die cut that image. We can just get use out of the pattern paper. For today, I'm going to be using this beautiful pad by Not Too Shabby, and it's called Spring Tulips. It's got some beautiful, wonderful designs. You can see them here. And what's great is we've got some solid or background patterns with our dots, our stripes, and then we've got florals, and there's even cutouts in here. I have chosen 5 different colors of cardstock that coordinate with this paper pad. Now I have 2 of each, probably only going to be using 1. And today what I'm going to show you is from this pad I created a template to cut to minimize the amount of scrap that's left from the pattern paper, but I will also show you how you can use that scrap as well. I'm not going to go through the whole pad. I'm just going to give you an idea of what you can do. And this pad here comes with 24 double-sided designs, 4 of each design. So we're going to take each of the designs and break down those cards. All right, but let's just real quick flip through this so that you can see the beautiful designs. We have these wonderful polka dots, beautiful tulips. We have that beautiful red, a pink smaller polka dot, larger tulips that are great. These here are great to create borders on your card. A nice orangey yellow, gray stripe. Here are those fussy cuts that you can use as embellishments. Beautiful floral background with that, and then baskets, and then we start over again. So I am going to focus on 2 sets of this, and you'll see why. So I'm going to remove as carefully as I can. There we go. So I'm going to remove 2 of each design. And again, we're not going to focus on the fussy cuts. And then here is our second round. So I should have, now I'm going to take this, put my cover back on, and we're going to set this aside. So I still have 12 sheets available for later cards. I'm going to take my solid cardstock up here, and now we're going to look. So why I chose 2 of each one, because these are double-sided. I've got this image here, and I've got that image here. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to find its mirror and put that over here. Here's my gray stripe. Here's the other gray stripe, but I'm going to turn it over. Now, I only need one of the gray stripe because these are the fussy cuts. So I'm going to take that and put that off to the side with the pad. I have the border. There's the mirror of it. I have the pink polka dot small. There's the mirror. I have the tulips on a diagonal. There's that mirror. And then our final. So even though we're off in the numbers, that's okay. What I'm going to do here, and you could also, if you wanted to, pull this one out so that if you want to work with even numbers. So let's do that. I know a lot like to work with even numbers. So I have this here and I have this here. So I'm going to pull in my paper trimmer. And here is the template that we're going to be using. So I have a piece of scratch paper. This is like a construction style paper that I use to do mock-ups and stuff like that. You could also use a notebook, grid, whatever you have. And I've cut it down to 6 by 6. And I have my lines here. So we have our first cut that's going to come at 4 inches. And then we have the next cuts down that panel of 2 1/4, 2 1/4, and it'll leave us with 1 1/2. And then on this strip here that we've cut off, we're going to cut off 3/4. Now that's technically the scrap. Now I'm going to bring this up to my camera because if you want, you can take a picture of that. And you can see that I also have the mats listed as well when it comes to the size. Because I do like working with mats when it comes to my Simplicity series. I think it accents the pattern paper. You do not need to do that. Again, we all create differently. I'm just showing you one way. So have fun. Okay? So I'm going to set this off to the side. And what I'm going to do is I am going to make my cuts. If it's directional, you want to keep that in mind when it comes to your cuts. So I'm going to start by cutting this at 4. I'm going to set this over here and I'm going to turn this and I'm going to cut this at 2 1/4. And I'm going to cut this piece at 2 1/4. And that's going to leave me with the half, the 1 1/2. And then I'm going to pull this in and I'm going to cut off 3/4. Which basically I'm cutting 5 1/4. So I'm going to line that up. And there's my cut. So whether that, what I'm referring to as a scrap piece is on the top or the bottom, it does not matter. So this is how the layout will be. So we've got our 2 large panels, the one at the bottom, here's our taller panel, and then here's that little piece that technically is only, that would be the only thing left if you choose not to use it. But I'm going to show you how we can use that. I'm going to continue through and make these cuts. And I'm going to make the piles off to the side here. And I'm even going to do that. You can do that with these as well. So this paper pad comes with our solids. You can certainly choose because we have a pattern on this and I have my solid cardstock. So I am going to flip these over, okay? Because I'm just looking for the patterns on that, which means I'm going to remove if there's any here, if I have duplications. And my duplication will be that one. I'm going to set that aside. And this one. And I'm going to set that one aside. All right, so now we're still even, 4 and 4. So that's going to give us 8 sheets. So out of a 24 sheet paper pad, we're going to use 8 cards. And we're going to see how many cards we can get by just using those 8 sheets and this template. So here we go. I'm going to continue through. I'm going to cut these the same way. I'll show you one more. And then when we come back, we're going to start creating our mats. All right, so just remember, you're starting out with a 6 by 6 inch piece of paper. So whatever you have. So again, we're going to start with our 4 inch. We're going to go to our 2 1/4, 2 1/4. That leaves our 1 1/2. And then we're going to cut off 3/4 of an inch. To make that cut at 5 1/4. And again, I will just line up. Now what's nice with this one, we don't have a directional style pattern. It's just a background. All right, I'm going to continue through and cut the rest of my pattern paper. And now that is our pattern paper, each of our pieces cut. So remember, 2 1/4 by 4, 2 1/4 by 4, 1 1/2 by 4. We first start with our cut at 4 inches on a 6 by 6 piece of paper. And then here, the strip that's left, which is 2 inches, we are cutting off 3/4 of an inch to give us 5 1/4 and a 3/4 inch piece. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to set these aside. We're just going to move those out of our way, but not too far so I don't forget. So we'll keep them right there. And we're going to work with these pieces here. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I have my solid cardstock here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each of these. So what you're also seeing when it comes to the Simplicity series is how I break down a paper pad, how I match it up with the solid cardstock. While I'm taking you step by step, I really don't do much thinking with this. It takes time. You know, I'm giving measurements. Usually I don't give measurements. So that alone took me a while. I usually just go for it, chop up the pieces, and then boom, we're set, we're done. And that's how I've done my previous. For this one, we're kind of looking at, okay, you know what? Let's look at how we can mix and match our pieces. And I'm going to put 2 colors of cardstock or 2 pattern papers to each cardstock if I use them all. I always choose more than what I have to because in case I changed my mind on colors. So I have 2 greens, a black. Black is always 9 out of 10 one of my choices. It just makes those colors pop. And then I have a yellow and a rosy, pinky red. Let's go with that. So now I'm going to look at each of them. I just need one of my strips to say, okay, which one goes? And this one, or this pattern, I really do like this pattern paper. And yes, I am going to pull in that small one there. And I'm going to set this aside. I'm just going to lay that right here. I'm now going to come in and do that same thing with my next one. Look at which one really goes. And you know what? I really do like that black. You knew I was going to choose a black, right? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my pieces down. You don't always have to, we don't have to lay them out this way. I'm just doing that out of habit. And I'm going to just offset this just a little bit. Now we're going to go into our next one and say, okay, this one, I really like this. I really like the peachy or the pinky red. Again, we're going to put this down. We're going to offset just a little bit. We're going to come in with our next one. And I think for this one, I kind of really do like the yellow. Yes, I would love to go back to that black again. But let's pull in that pretty yellow. Again, we're taking this off to the side. This beautiful all over pattern. You know, I really think I've got 4 left here. I'm thinking. So I apologize for the tapping. I know that bothers some. I like the dark green for this one. Okay, and now I'm also going to look at put the polka dot onto the dark green, and I'm going to put we're going to set that one there. I'm going to put this gray with this pink color. So you can see we're kind of doubling up here because we're going to get many, many different looks. And we have one more. And I think I'm going to put this one here as well. So I have one on the light green. So now I'm just going to layer these up. And I'm going to put these back into my stash. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut down our mats. I work my mats either by 1/8 or by 1/4 of an inch. For this one here, I'm working in 1/8. Now, usually, I just take the piece, put it on the solid cardstock, and I cut around it. And I know I get lots of comments. Boy, I wish you either wouldn't do that, or boy, I wish I could do that. So we are going to do the cuts that we want to do. You don't want to cut your cardstock 6 by 6. We need to make sure that we cut each of our panels down. So I'm going to show on these two here, because one, it's a brighter color, it's not black, it doesn't blend into my mat, and you'll be able to see what we're doing. So I'm going to stack my pieces, and I'm making sure I keep the template up, meaning the colors that I want. I don't want them to flip and have me change it. I am setting off my little pieces here off to the side. So this is an 8.5 by 11. I know I have 4 pieces that measure 2 1/4 by 4 inches. 2 1/4 by 4 inches, and we have 2 of them. My mat is going to be cut, if I add 1/8 of an inch to 2 1/4, that's 2 3/8. And if I add 1/8 of an inch to the 4 inches, I'm going to cut these 4 by 1/8. So I am going to take this, and I'm going to cut this at 4 1/8. And I'm going to slice down. I'm now going to take this and cut this at 2 3/8. 1, 2, 3. Now I have this piece left, and it measures 1 1/4. I'm going to set that one aside. Now I need one more piece at 4 1/8 by 2 3/8. But I also need 2 other pieces to measure 4 1/8. So I'm going to cut this again at 4 1/8. And I'm going to cut my last one at 2 3/8. So those are set. I have these here. Now these measure 1 1/2 by 4. I already have a piece that measures 4 1/8, and I need these to measure 1 5/8. So I'm going to bring this up and cut 2 at 1 5/8. And those are going to go with that one. My last piece, or my last 2 pieces here, measure 5 1/4 by 2 inches. So I need 2 1/8 by 5 3/8. Now, I can already know that this is not going to work, and that's okay. Okay, that's why I pull 2 pieces out. I'm sure if we figured that out, but wait, then we would have enough. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut this piece to be 5 3/8. By 2 1/8. And that one is right there. These are the wonderful scraps that we have. And I say wonderful because I love solid cardstock scraps. I do a lot of die cutting. Okay, so these to me are wonderful. But we're going to use these. All right, but I do still need a piece that measures 2 1/8 by 5 3/8. So I'm going to pull this one piece in, and I'm going to cut it 2 3/8, or 2 1/8. By 5 3/8. Another piece of great scrap. and another piece to go back into my full sheet reserve. So now we have these pieces cut. I still have these set aside, and now I'm just going to make a pile with these, and we're just going to cross them over so that I have it. So now let's really dive in to the 8.5 by 11 sheet, so that you really are only using one of those. So we have our pieces to the side. Now, again, we cut the first 8.5 by 11 and we just made our cuts. Yes. And we had to go into a second sheet. It's okay. I'm okay with that. But there is a way to look at a sheet and get the most of it. And I did that here. So remember, when it comes to our 6 by 6 template, we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that we are cutting from that template. Here is an 8.5 by 11 sheet template, and I'm going to hold this up again. All right. This is the scrap that you will have. This is the scrap that you will have. And here are the 4 main pieces. Remember, I'm not counting that small one too much, but if we have to, it can come out of this strip here. You can see that if you do plan, okay, you can get the most out of your paper supplies. I encourage that. I really do. I know I don't do it, and I should not be made to be at fault for that. It's just how I create. But let's face it, our craft can get up there when it comes to cost. So this is a way that you can look to just plan out your pieces. Now, how can you come up with a template like this? Always start with your largest piece first, and that's this piece here. Your longest, your tallest, however you want to look at it, but that one piece that has the largest measurement, that's the one you want to start with. So in this case, if I bring this back in, that's this piece right here, because it's 5 1/4 by 2 inches. The mat needs to be 5 3/8 by 2 1/8. There's that longest piece. So take that lengthwise and then go up, and I measured 2 1/8. So there's that piece cut. We need 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 by 2 3/8. And that's these 2 here. And then we need the one piece 4 1/8 by 1 5/8. So we have our first cut at 5 3/8, and then we're going to cut this column down to 4 1/8, and then make these cuts. And I'm going to show that to you. So you can see, had to cut into 2 pieces if we don't plan. Okay, that's what this looks like. These are very viable pieces. Even this one. It is a viable piece that can be used and will be used. So let's cut our next pieces, and I'm going to get these in some order above me so that I don't get too confused, because we know that will happen. I'm just going to put that there. So let's pull in our yellow, because we have just one to cut here. Now, this works when you have one panel. Again, remember, some of them are going to have 2 pattern papers, but if you're just looking at one, you can plan that out. All right, so here we go. we're going to cut this one down to 5 3/8. We're going to make our cut. We're then going to make our next cut at 2 1/8. There's that cut. So there we go. Now I'm going to cut this down to 4 1/8. I cut. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut 1 5/8. And I'm going to cut 2 at 2 3/8. Now these measurements going up, this should be 2 3/8 as well. And it is. It's a little smaller, but that's because paper is never cut exactly at 8.5 by 11. But that's okay. Still viable, can still be used. And we are going to put these down now, like that. This is our scrap from one sheet of paper. I'm going to set these aside. And we're going to stack those back up as well. So here's one with 2 designs. Let's see what happens. Could we have figured this out correctly? I'm going to cut my first cut at 5 3/8. First cut, 2 1/8. Cut it down to 4 1/8. Cut the next one down, 1 5/8. The next two are 2 3/8. And I just like to check the last one to see if I do have to trim it, and I do not. So here are these pieces. And again, just laying them out, getting them paired up. But we have another one that's going on black cardstock. Let's see. 5 3/8. And there we go. There's that scrap. Can this be used? Yep. Again, 2 1/8. We're going to cut it down to 4 1/8. 1 5/8. And 2 3/8. We need 2 of those. And again, just like to make sure. And again, we're going to line our pieces up. So with 2 pattern papers and that template, this is what we would have left. And you're only using 1 sheet. All right, so that's great. I'm going to continue through, cut my pieces, and when we come back, we're going to get all of these cards together to see just how many cards we are going to get from this. So now we have eight piles here. What we want to do now, and again, you can see I'm putting this all together production style. So this is great for the holidays, when you have those mass cards to make. Get them done ahead of time, and then boom, just add your sentiments. And you'll see these are going to give way for any sentiment that you would want to add. But what we're going to do now is we are going to get these set into place, meaning we are going to glue the pattern paper onto our solid cardstock. And you just need a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to line that up in the center, just like that. And we're going to do this for each of our pieces. So this is great to do in front of a TV as you're watching your favorite show or series. These are things that I like to do when I'm binge watching something. I'm one that I will watch. For me, TV is background noise. Whether even when I was studying through my many years of school, I had to have background noise. I could not study in silence. I couldn't get anything done. I was distracted, squirrel, very easily, but just could not do it. So there are TV shows and movies that I will just watch over and over and over again. Drives my husband crazy. Absolutely bonkers. But for me, I'm not really watching it. I'm just having that noise in the background. Now, I could also do that with music. Love listening to music. This is going to sound strange. You're all going to think I'm crazy. If you don't already, you're going to after this statement. If I have music on while I'm working in my studio or, at work, because I do work remotely as well. So I do this on the weekends. I would be too busy bopping my feet, bopping around, snapping my fingers, humming. I could see me forgetting to either turn the music off when I film. The music would be playing in the background, and that's a big no-no. You can't do that. Or you'd all hear me humming or singing, so yeah, music for me is like that squirrel when it comes to that as well. But yes, I do listen to music in my car, and I am one of those people that if I hear a certain song, oh yeah, I'm jamming out to it, and you can see my head bobbing and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, a little bit to know about me when it comes to my strange, quirky habits. So I'm just going to continue to get these matted. And you can see I'm just setting them up into the center. We just have that little bit of border that's coming out the back. For these, this is not something that I would cut out the centers of the solid cardstock. I do that when it comes to my specialty papers, like my mirrored or my glitter. I will cut the centers out that on some of my pieces. It all depends on the piece and how thick that specialty paper is, because I don't want my papers to sag at all. And yes, you can certainly use scrap paper to put in back of them, but I die cut with my scraps as well. So I wouldn't want to use too many of those either. I know, very strange. But again, you know, we all create very differently. And that's the beauty of this craft, is that we can create differently. We can create and we develop our own unique style. And they're all wonderful. So I am going to just continue to do these. I'll play a little music like I did before. And then when I come back, we are going to start doing our card layouts. And you'll see what I mean when I say card layouts. All right, so I will be right back once these are all done. Okay, we have all of our mats onto our pattern paper, and you can already see the pattern paper's doing the work, and we just have this little tiny frame that's coming around that. Now, what I do find that is great when it comes to matting, doesn't matter if it's paper from a paper pad or a thicker cardstock from a paper pad, I do like the Recollections 65-pound solid cardstock. Again, we're not adding too much bulk to it. These are certainly not, though, one layer cards. We are adding some dimension because we are taking a pattern paper on top of another paper on top of a base that'll go onto our card base. That's what I do. You can certainly, where I have my design bases here that are cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, you can certainly do what I'm doing on this page here, put it directly onto a card base for storage purposes, because you're going to see we're going to get a lot of cards from this. Remember, we had 8 pieces of pattern paper. So I'm definitely going to lay out, let's see if I can get them in screen. Kind of hoping here. I'm going to take these little pieces because I don't want to lose those. And I don't want to lose these as well. I am choosing a white design panel for my background. I think with these colors, it just gave itself for a white background, but you can choose any color you want. Like blue would be pretty, anything you want. And now we're just going to start laying out, and I'm going to get an idea of just how many cards we're going to get. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to put this one down here. All right, that's one. I'm going to take this one here. Okay, that's two. And then I'm going to take this one here. And there's three. Lots going on. But let's pull in another design. Let's pull in not this one, but rather, nope, not that one either. We're going to keep going here. Okay, so I want to take these two and have some fun. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this down here. I am going to put this one here, and I'm going to put this one here, and I'm going to put that there. So now we have these going across 4 cards. But let's take this and now overlap these because we can. And let's do that. And let's put this and let's do that. Okay. So now with 2 designs, we can get different card looks. So I want to set this one down first, and I want this on this side. And then I'm going to set this one down as well. So this is going to slightly overlap, and I like that. We've got a full coverage background here. For this one, again, remember your directional paper. So I'm going to put that somewhat in the center, and this one down just a little bit. Perfect. This one here, we can have some fun with. So I can take this one and move that up a little bit, and the same thing with this. I'm going to shift that down a little bit, and then this one we are going to keep like that. So now we've taken 2 patterns and put them together. Remember, a paper pad, just like a kit, every piece of pattern paper in that one pad will coordinate with each other. Doesn't matter how you mix and match them. I do like to match up a smaller print to a larger print. I think it makes this larger print more drawn for the eye. The eye will go to that beautiful larger print. You can see here that we can have simple designs going on here. We can, and again, with these that just have the polka dots, I think they're great to be paired with another design. And this one, I'm going to go even crazier, and I'm going to do the same layout that I have with these. So I'm just going to put a piece of my design base, and that's what I call it. I call it a design base because we're not at the card base yet. So I'm going to cover those up and say, okay, but we can have some fun changing them around. So let's put this here, and I'm going to grab that. Let's see what that looks like. And I'm going to hold off on that one. And I am going to put this here and one of these down here. I love the 2 different panels that we've got going on here. For this one, I'm going to put this one here, this one down here as I throw it across. And then I'm going to take this and just place that right over it. And then this is just going to sit right there. So just this top row, I have 8 cards. We are not done yet, but I have 8 cards. We can have fun mixing and matching. We could put this on top of that and just set this down lower. And I think I'm going to do that just to give it a little bit of interest on that. I like the simplicity of this one. Beautiful, big, bold sentiment can sit right on top of that. And this here, a sentiment strip, can be put right across there with a beautiful sentiment. So here we can also look at combining our patterns. So here's a small and here's a large, but we can really overlap them if we want and have those sitting like that if we choose. So the possibilities are endless. But what I do want to do with this one is I want to keep that one just in the center. I just love that panel. And again, I'm going to place a panel on top. And what that does is it kind of closes off that design so that I don't know what's going on. I'm going to put this one here, and I'm going to put that on top, but shift that down just a little bit. This I'm going to put here. Here I'm going to put this up there. I do like that design, so I am going to do another one of those with this set. This one I'm going to put down here. And again, I like the simplicity of that as well. And then for our last one, I am going to put this and this, and then I'm going to set this right in the center. So what we've gotten from 8 pieces of pattern paper, 6 by 6, we have gotten 17 cards. And remember, it was a 24. So if we did the same designs here, okay, the same designs. Now, some of the pattern papers, you know, you really wouldn't use because, again, you wouldn't want to cut into the ephemera, but you could, and so forth. But if all of these were the same, using 8 sheets of paper, we got 17 card designs. 17 times 3 is 51. You would get 51 cards by using these measurements. I think that's pretty awesome. And pretty amazing that I did that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to adhere these onto my design base. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, okay, this is why a design base, why not go directly onto your card panel? 17 cards. 17 cards will take up a lot of room. And I'm trying to straighten this out because, you know, of course I put it on crooked, but that's okay. They really will take up a lot of space. So what I like to do, and I do it with a lot of my card making, I do like to work on a design base and then bring that card design to, or my design base to my card base, because then I can do all the work here and then set it up onto the card panel so that I don't damage that in any way. It's just a personal preference, but you could do these any way that you would want. So I am just going to get these all set. And then we are going to do a final flip through of all of the cards that we have created together. So when I come back, these will all be put down onto the design base. All right, here we are. So these are all of the bases or the card designs that we created. Again, we have 17 that were created from 8 pieces of 6x6 cardstock. We matted them, and if we figure out our mats, we're only using technically a half a sheet of solid cardstock. Now, I used multiple colors. When you have 8, you would need 4 sheets, 4 full 8.5 by 11 sheets. All right, I say 4 because you can fit 2 of these pattern papers onto one 8.5 by 11 when we follow the grid for this. Okay, that's a win. That to me is a win, especially if you're involved in those wonderful groups where we donate cards for them. For hospitals, there's no glitter on these. There's no gems on these, because sometimes when we send them to hospitals, we can't have that type of stuff on our cards. 17 cards, 8 pieces of 6x6 pattern paper. So you can have fun when it comes to creating and create and give them to those organizations as well. Now, I said that I would come back to this little piece of scrap that we have left from our pattern paper. Now, you could just leave it as a scrap if you want. I mean, that's not bad. You know, it's 2 inches by 3¼ inch. I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue this onto just our black cardstock. You can choose any of the ones of these strips that we have left. I'm going to come in with my scissors and I'm going to cut around, again, leaving that same type of border that we've got going on here. And what we can do, and I'm just going to choose one. I'm going to choose this one. Again, we don't have to have the same mat for this. And I'm going to create a card base. So I'm going to grab one of my card bases here, if I can. There we go. And let's get it scored. Now I'm going to get this adhered to the front. We'll press down. So now our standard A2 size card base is all set. But if I turn the back over, I can take this little tiny piece and I can adhere this to the back of the card, or if you want to put it to the front or the inside, you certainly can. But now that little tiny piece decorates the back of your card. You can also sign it, initial it, because you did create a piece of art here. So that's what you can do with that very, very, excuse me, that very small scrap. It can just be an accent piece. Or, again, you can put it on the inside. But I kind of like the back. Gives it something to look at. All right. So, guys, that was our simplicity idea for this month. Stay tuned for next month. I'm probably going to try to do something like this. I will scan these. Yeah, I will scan these and have a link down below so that you can get a copy of these if you want. Again, you'll just have to fill in your email, but again, you can get yourself off of there if you want when it comes to that. Totally your choice, but I will make sure that is set up down below so that you can have these. And again, you'll see the mat cuts for each of these, and you will see the direct measurements from the 6x6 cutting template. And then I will also have the mat sheet from the 8.5 by 11 for you as well. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I inspired you to dig into those 6x6 paper pads that we love so much. We can do this with 12x12 as well. Just cut it down to a 6x6 and just have the pattern be small enough so that you can see it, by all means. But I hope I gave you that inspiration and that idea to just dig into them. Even if it's just 8 sheets, it's 8 more sheets that you've dug into. Or maybe it's that paper pad that you're like, you know what, I really don't want to use this, but if I do, I want to use it all up so that there's nothing left and I won't be upset. There you go. You can do that with this. And this is great for mass production. So have fun and enjoy when it comes to creating your cards. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure you go down below, leave a comment down there, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I will link to the Not Too Shabby shop. They do have some wonderful 6x6 paper pads available. You name the motif and they've got them. And they also have a membership club when it comes to paper pads as well. You get 2 every month and it's pretty reasonable. So I'll link that down below if you want to check that out. Totally your choice, but I encourage you, dig into your stash. If you haven't yet, I'd love for you to subscribe. Do all those YouTube clicky things. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and ring the bell so that you're notified when the next video is ready for you. Remember, you'll see more lives. Hopefully, you know, no more technical difficulties because, you know, there's always that. Yeah, only me. But most of all, guys, enjoy the process. Have fun creating the art that you are creating. And know that it is art. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, even yourself. Ignore yourself. If you get frustrated or stressed, just walk away and come back with fresh eyes. You're going to see it in a different way and you're going to enjoy it. Never stop, never throw it away. Just keep going and see what comes out of it. But most of all, everyone, and always remember, be creative in every single thing you do every day. And until the next time, take care, and I'll talk to you then.